All right, let's just jump right in. You know, when you're facing something big in life, a car crash, a problem with your landlord, a sudden injury, the legal system can feel like this impossible maze. So today, we're going to break down the power of having a professional guide you through it. A lawyer.
I mean, it's the big question, isn't it? When your health, your home, or your money is on the line, are you really better off trying to handle it all yourself or having a lawyer in your corner? Let's take a look at what the actual data says, because this question is more important now than ever.
So to really get to the bottom of this, we have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture first. And that picture, well, it's dominated by this massive system-wide problem that people in the legal world call the justice gap.
Just look at this number, 70 to 90%. That's not a typo. According to multiple legal studies, that's the unbelievable percentage of civil legal problems for low-income Americans that just go completely unaddressed. We're not talking about a small crack in the system here. This is a giant chasm. And here's what's so important to get. This isn't about some complicated corporate lawsuit. Look at this chart. The vast majority of these unmet legal needs are about the absolute fundamentals of a stable life. Things like keeping a roof over your head, getting through a family crisis, or dealing with crippling debt. These are the moments where pretty much everything is on the line.
Okay, so we've seen how huge the problem is. But what happens when people actually get legal help? Well, this is where the story takes a really interesting turn, because the data on the advantage of having a lawyer, it's just incredibly clear. This quote, it's just stunning. Seriously, think about that number. Up to 1,380% more likely to get a good outcome. Wow, that is not just a little edge, that's a total game changer. It really shows you just how tilted the playing field can be. And this visual just drives that point home. Study after study shows the same thing. The difference in outcome isn't just a little bit, it's dramatic. What you're seeing here is the gap between having a real fighting chance and facing a massive, and let's be honest, often impossible uphill battle. All right, so those numbers are pretty abstract, but let's see how this stuff plays out in the real world. We're going to zoom in on a recent legal change down in Florida that has just dramatically raised the stakes, making expert legal help more critical than ever before. So, there's this legal concept called modified comparative negligence. I know it sounds super technical, but the idea is actually brutally simple. If a court finds that you are more than 50% to blame for your own injury, you are completely barred from recovering any money, period. And this really puts that change in black and white. Under the old rule, you could still get something, even if you were mostly at fault. But now, the second you're found to be 51% responsible, your ability to get compensation just drops off a cliff, down to zero. So you see what's happening, right? The fight over who's at fault isn't just about lowering a payout anymore. It's become an all-or-nothing game. A single percentage point can literally be the difference between getting the money you need to put your life back together and walking away with absolutely nothing. Okay, so the stakes are incredibly high. We get that. The next logical question is, well, how do I find the right person to help? So let's get into your practical toolkit. What you really need to know to find and hire the right lawyer for your situation. When you sit down with a potential lawyer, you have to remember, you're interviewing them for a job. The Federal Trade Commission suggests starting with these 4 key questions. You want to know about their specific experience, who at the firm is actually going to be doing the work, a realistic timeline, and of course, how the billing works. And yeah, speaking of costs, let's demystify how lawyers get paid. Sure, some charge by the hour or a flat fee for something simple, but in personal injury cases, the most common setup is the contingency fee. And this is a game changer. It means you pay nothing up front. The lawyer only gets paid if you win your case. It's what levels the playing field. So now you know why you might need a lawyer, and you've got a toolkit to find one. But there's another major player in this whole equation we have to talk about, the insurance company. And their perspective on all this? Well, it's a little different. You know, if you ever get a call from an insurance adjuster who sounds super friendly and says things like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll take care of everything," or "You don't really need a lawyer for this," you have to stop and ask yourself a very simple question. Why? Why would the other side be giving you advice that seems to go directly against their own company's financial interests? Well, the answer is in their playbook. An insurance company is a business, right? Its main goal is to protect its bottom line, and that means paying out as little as possible on your claim.
They can use your inexperience against you, try to get you on a recorded statement they can twist later, argue you were at fault, or just drag things out until you're so desperate for cash you take their lowball offer.
And that is exactly where a good lawyer comes in. Their job is to counter every single one of those tactics and to level that very uneven playing field. They move fast to preserve crucial evidence, things like crash reports, security footage, witness statements, stuff that might just disappear otherwise. They know the playbook, they see the moves coming, and they fight to protect you.
Which brings us right back where we started, but with a lot more information. When you think about the huge justice gap, the hard data on how much better people do with a lawyer, these new high-stakes laws, and the strategic playbook of the other side, you have to ask, is having a lawyer really just a choice? Or in a system this complex, has it actually become a necessity?